She was a simple country girl, but in an aristocratic school, she was adored by her peers. When a classmate was bullied by hooligans from outside the school, she, with a single move, knocked down all 18 ruffians. She represented the school in an international chess tournament and, with a glorious feat, defeated 23 people to win the championship. In the university entrance exam, she achieved a perfect score, becoming the first in history to do so. One day, she encountered an international assassin attempting to kill a founding hero of the nation, and with a flawless spinning kick, easily eliminated him. The assassin, until the moment of his death, never imagined that the girl he was facing was the legendary figure known as the Queen in the world of assassins. At that moment, Ye Ningxuang stared at herself in the mirror in disbelief, horrified to discover that she, who a second ago was fighting in a sea of fire, had now been reborn as an 18-year-old girl. Ye Ningxuang sharply turned her head towards the window. The scent of blood and gunpowder lingered in the wind. As a top-tier international assassin, she immediately and acutely detected a gunfight occurring on the mountain behind her house. She pondered for a moment. The conflict's location was too close to home and was highly likely to spread there. A spark of energy flashed in her eyes, and then she leaped out the window and ran directly towards the back mountain. Soon, behind a bush, she found an elderly man in a green military uniform, severely wounded, gritting his teeth and covered in cold sweat, not daring to make a sound. But when Ye Ningxuang saw the badge on the old man's shoulder, her pupils constricted slightly. She recognized that badge. It belonged to Ji Kanghai, a founding hero of the Sha nation. General Ji, when he was young, had led 300 soldiers and, on the front line, miraculously defeated 100,000 invaders, protecting territorial integrity with his blood, and thus gaining a great international reputation. Although Ye Ningxuang was an international assassin, she held great respect for this man. But she didn't understand who would dare pursue the head of Xia's military district within its own territory. "I found you, Mr. Ji." A large foreign man with a smoking rifle suddenly appeared, aiming the weapon at Ji Kanghai's heart. "I'm sorry, I'm just doing my job for money." Ji Kanghai gasped, his eyes bloodshot, staring intently at the man. He felt a deep sadness in his heart, thinking that he had fought his whole life only to die in such a pathetic way. Crack! The sudden sound of a branch being stepped on was heard. The big man and Ji Kanghai looked to the left at the same time, only to discover that, at some point, a beautiful young girl had appeared from behind a tree, standing with a serene expression. "Run!" Ji Kanghai clung to the big man's calf. His duty was to protect the people of Sha, a responsibility deeply ingrained in him. "Shit!" The big man forcefully kicked Ji Kanghai and then aimed his gun at the girl. No one else was to know about the solo operation. However, at the same time, the girl appeared in front of the big man as if teleporting, knocked him down with a spinning kick, and Yikak O'Days, as she passed, snatched the gun from his hand. Then, with a sound, the back of the big man's head exploded like a bowl of tofu brains. Under the moonlight, the girl, seen from the side, was as cold as an angel of death. "You..." General Ji, unusually, stammered. That seemingly harmless girl had so easily eliminated a foreign assassin. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it. "Who are you?" Ji Kanghai asked very nervously. "The person who saved you." Ye Ningxuang's voice showed no emotion. She was not a kind-hearted person, but she was willing to save Ji Kanghai. Then, she began to stop the bleeding from Ji Kanghai's wound. With skill, she extracted a bullet, opened the cap of a cold gunpowder cartridge, and evenly sprinkled the contents over the bullet wound on Ji Kanghai's thigh, then ignited the powder. The wound glowed brightly. Although Ji Kanghai was wincing in pain, he made no sound. Instead, he looked at Ye Ningxuang with a more penetrating gaze. This is a common emergency hemostasis and disinfection method on the battlefield. "Who exactly are you?" Ye Ningxuang silently frowned, but after a moment, she revealed her name, because she knew that, given Ji Kanghai's identity, finding out her ancestors would be a matter of minutes. However, her rebirth was something no one could discover. At that moment, dense footsteps were heard in the distance. Ye Ningxuang knew that Ji Kanghai's reinforcements had arrived, so she turned around and went home, leaving Ji Kanghai behind. Ji Kanghai was perplexed. She had left so quietly after saving a national hero, wanting no reward, not even a thank you. The next day, Ye Ningxuang was woken early by her mother. After breakfast, she got on the bus that would take her to school. However, no sooner had she sat down, a notification sounded in her mind, and then several lines of text appeared before her eyes. Objective: complete 30 trial missions. Reward: resurrect Ye Liangshen. Trial Mission 1. Win first place in Jimei Academy's monthly exam. Yining Shuang's dark eyes showed a trace of confusion, but soon they were flooded with pain and regret. She clenched her fist tightly. Ye Liangchen was her younger brother, who had been brutally killed while covering her. Now that she had the opportunity to save her brother, she would complete all 300 missions if necessary, with all her strength. After a long while, she gradually calmed down. The important thing now was to complete the mission. Although she had not received a formal education, she had been thoroughly trained by the organization in all aspects. Give me some time to thoroughly review the knowledge from the last year of high school, and winning first place in a school's monthly exam shouldn't be difficult. An hour later, the bus stopped in front of Jimi High School. This was the best aristocratic school in the city. Students and their families dressed elegantly, while Yining Shuang's humble attire contrasted with everything around her. This naturally attracted the attention of others. Look, where did this country girl come from? Don't you know? Isn't that hick young Master Shen's country fiancé? I remember Yining Shuang being super ugly, but how is she so pretty today? Don't you notice? She changed her hairstyle. This little face makes me feel a bit attracted. Quick, take pictures and send them to everyone else. Then, many students, as if they had discovered a new continent, took out their phones and started taking pictures of Yining Shuang. Isn't it just a change of hairstyle? What's so surprising? A girl said with a disdainful expression, in a sour tone. Yining Shuang, however, ignored these useless rich kids. She recalled the memories of the original body's owner. The young Master Shen they were talking about was the only son of Yan Cheng's Shen group and also the original owner's fiancé. The grandparents of both families were like brothers in the village, so they agreed to this marriage. But then the Shen family's business grew, and from a poor village family, they became a wealthy family in Yancheng. It was thought that after the Shen family prospered, they would no longer mention this marriage, but Grandpa Shen was a very honorable man. Not only did he send gifts to the Yi family in the countryside every so often, but he also arranged for Yining Shuang, who didn't have good grades, to enter the elite private school where his grandson studied, saying that studying together would help them develop feelings. Unfortunately, young Master Shen did not inherit his grandfather's good qualities. The original body's owner suffered bullying for almost 3 years at school, and young Master Shen never helped her. At the beginning of the year, Grandpa Shen passed away, and this marriage became uncertain. Yining Shuang followed the route of her memories and entered the classroom of the second-year senior high class 2. At first, Grandpa Shen wanted Yining Shuang to go to class 1, where his grandson was, but the vice principal feared that Yining Shuang would drag down the elite class, so he symbolically assigned her to class 2. Oh, this hick really did get pretty. But I can still smell the scent of poverty. Disgusting! Shut up! If you keep talking, I'm gonna throw up my breakfast! Yining Shuang ignored the people's discussions about her, looked at the classroom, and entered. Today was seat-changing day. The school, to encourage students to make friends, allowed them to change seats freely. So Yining Shuang chose an empty seat and wanted to put down her backpack. However, the girl in the seat next to her hit the desk with her hand and, with a fake smile, said, "Sorry, this seat is taken." Yining Shuang looked at the girl indifferently, and then went to another empty seat nearby. But before she could get there, the girl next to her stood up and impatiently said, "This one is also taken. Find another spot." Immediately, the class burst into laughter. Yining Shuang slightly narrowed her eyes, her pupils focused. Just then, a boy with a face full of acne raised his hand and shouted, "Come here, I have an empty seat here." Yining Shuang didn't think much of it, turned around, and walked towards the boy. However, just as she was about to put her backpack on the chair, the boy stepped on the chair with one foot, and his friendly expression instantly turned into arrogance and disdain. "This empty seat is for people, you idiot! You don't deserve to sit here! Ha 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 ha!" The whole class couldn't help but burst into laughter. Seeing this, the boy's expression became even prouder. At that moment, Yining Shuang recalled in her mind how the last person who had provoked her in that way had died. With a cold laugh, she punched the boy in the face and then kicked him in the abdomen, instantly knocking him to the ground. The boy let out a squeal like a wild boar, falling completely to the floor, unable to say a word. "Now do I deserve to sit here?" Yining Shuang said coldly. She was the person who best knew how to reason with her fists. At first, the classroom was silent. The students were not only surprised that Yining Shuang, who who had always been timid, dared to hit someone, but also because they hadn't seen how she attacked. Yining Shuang's speed was simply too ghostly. The beaten boy was named Zhang Chao. He slowly straightened up and roared in embarrassment. Yining Shuang, you dared to hit me. Did you forget that my mom is the principal of our Jimi High School? I think you don't want to continue studying at our school. Only incompetent people, when at a disadvantage, emphasize their connections, Yining Shuang said expressionlessly. Fine, you'll pay for this, Zhang Chao uttered a threat, turned around and ran out of the classroom to complain to his mother. Yining Shuang ignored the surprised stares of the crowd, calmly sat in her seat, and began to calmly flip through her book. At the same time, in a special hospital room, Ji Kanghai was lying in bed, smiling and quietly saying, "Don't be angry, Grandpa Xiaofeng, aren't I fine?" The handsome man beside the bed, with an imperial temperament, said nothing, only peeled an apple with a frown. For a moment, the pressure in the room was extremely low. The old founding general quickly signaled to guard Xiao Liu with his eyes. Xiao Liu wiped away cold sweat and, mustering his courage, said, "Young Master Ji, the chief just wanted to go fishing in the mountains. He didn't expect to encounter foreign assassins in his own territory." It was fortunate that Jifeng stopped his apple-peeling motion. The Xia country has a complete Skynet system, but now no trace of that assassin can be found. If I had to guess, I could only think of that assassin queen, that legendary figure in the assassin world who eliminated the largest drug trafficker in the Golden Triangle and overthrew the entire Japanese extremist organization, Ku Yin. But we recently received reliable news that Ku Yin is already dead. Saying this, Xiao Liu took the tablet next to him and began to operate. In a short while, the computer began playing a video. The content showed Ku Yin being transported back to the organization and perishing, along with that group of people, and finally they were all incinerated. Jifeng looked away from the tablet, sighing. He never imagined that the imposing Ku Yin would meet such a tragic end. "Report!" Yining Shuang's information is ready. A soldier suddenly said after a salute at the door. Ji Kanghai gestured, took the information and browsed it curiously. Yining Shuang, 18 years old, from Shekel village. Father Ye Weigo, mother Li Chunlan, currently in her 3rd year at Jimei High School. Normal student. That simple? Ji Kanghai checked it several times. He always felt that much was missing from what was written there. Yes. The soldier couldn't believe it either. The girl in the photo, who looked weak and helpless, was the person who had saved the chief from foreign assassins. Xiaofeng, what do you think? Ji Kanghai handed the information to Jifeng. Jifeng looked at the girl's photo in the information and, a moment later, said, "I'll go to Jimei. The Ji family must return this life-saving favor." In classroom 2 of the 3rd year at Jimei Academy, the closed door was suddenly pushed open. A burly woman stormed towards the podium. "Where is Yining Shuang?" It was Sun Hongxie, Zhang Chao's mother and one of the directors of Jimei Academy. Zhang Chao, who was behind her, found Yining Shuang at a glance. "Mom, she's over there!" Zhang Chao pointed at the girl with his bandaged arm and shouted. At that moment, Yining Shuang was still engrossed in her book, not even lifting her head as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Sun Hongxie became even angrier. She stepped down from the podium and approached Yining Shuang, raising her hand to slap her. "You ungrateful wretch!" Yining Shuang felt the blow rapidly approaching. Killing intent instantly burst from her eyes. With even greater speed, she caught Sun Hongxie's wrist, stood up, and slapped Sun Hongxie's fat face. Sun Hongxie stumbled backward. Everyone in the classroom gasped in unison. Their eyes were fixed. This Yining Shuang is really amazing now. She even dares to hit the director. Zhang Chao was also stunned, but in an instant he became furious. He grabbed the pointer from the nearby podium and swung it forcefully at Yining Shuang. "Damn bitch!" Yining Shuang's eyes were cold. With a simple sidestep, she dodged the attack. Then she raised her leg and kicked Zhang Chao, who flew backward. Zhang Chao's body, as it retreated, crashed right into his mother. Sun Hongxie's heavy body had not yet stabilized when her son knocked her to the ground, breaking her arm directly. How could Sun Hongxie endure such suffering? She fainted on the spot. Zhang Chao yelled upon seeing his mother unconscious and quickly called some classmates to take her to the infirmary. Before leaving, he didn't forget to issue a threat. "Yining Shuang, you dared to hit the director. You'll see." The classroom fell silent again. Due to the overly intense stares from the back row, Yining Shuang turned around to look back. In an instant, all the students lowered their heads in unison, fearing that Yining Shuang would hit them if she got angry But Ye Ningshuang had no such intention. She simply sat down and continued flipping through her book. The first trial mission was to get first place in the monthly exam. She didn't want the first step to reviving her brother to fail. Soon after, the athletes' march suddenly sounded over the loudspeaker. With that familiar tune, today was Monday, and the school was going to hold the flag-raising ceremony. The students happily left the classroom. A few minutes later, the square was filled with teachers and students. The simple but solemn flag-raising ceremony ended. The vice principal went to the podium to give a speech. The content was as monotonous as ever. Chen Wenze, as a student representative, went to the podium to speak. But before he said 2 sentences, Sun Hongxia, with her arm in a cast, and Zhang Chao angrily ascended the podium. Shen Wenzi stopped his speech uncertainly. The vice principal approached first and asked with concern, "Director Sun and classmate Zhang, how did you get hurt?" "We were beaten by a student from your school," Sun Hongxia said with a weak expression. "What?" The vice principal was surprised. Who would dare to hit the director and her son like that? Sun Hongxia snorted and looked at Shen Wenjie, thinking that Ye Ningshuang dared to hit them, relying on the Shen family's backing. So now she would take revenge on the Shen family. The Zhang family, the old wealthy family in Yancheng to which she belonged, was not comparable to the Shen family, which had emerged in recent decades. Sun Hongxia asked with complete confidence, "Shen Wenze, how do your daughters-in-law in the Shen family educate their daughters? Look at how Ye Ningshuang left my son and me." Upon hearing this, the entire crowd stirred. The country hick, who used to be bullied by everyone, dared to brutally hit the arrogant mother and son, Sun Hongxia. Really? Is Mrs. Sun joking? Shen Wen instinctively didn't believe her words. Zhang Chao stepped forward, gritting his teeth. Would my mother joke about something like this? Seeing that Zhang Chao and Sun Hongxia didn't seem to be lying, Shen Wenjie secretly cursed Ye Ningshuang for only causing him trouble, while saying, "Mrs. Sun and classmate Zhang, calm down. Ye Ningshuang is from the countryside and doesn't have much education. Don't stoop to her level." Upon hearing this, Sun Hongxia became even angrier. Don't stoop to her level? Did my son and I get beaten and just let it go? Shen Wenze, I think your Shen family doesn't want to continue cooperating with the Zhang family, do you? Upon mentioning the cooperation between the two families, Shen Wenze's expression changed dramatically. Mrs. Sun, there's a misunderstanding. I will make Ye Ningshuang offer a sincere apology until you are satisfied. Call Ye Ningshuang, Sun Hongxia said in a sharp voice. If this isn't resolved properly, no one will be fine. The vice principal quickly approached the microphone. Ye Ningshuang from senior year class 2, come up. The crowd automatically parted for Ye Ningshuang, immediately exposing her to public view. Is this really the timid and ugly Ye Ningshuang? The photos sent to me this morning, I thought they were doctored. I didn't expect her to be even more beautiful in person. She just went from being an ugly idiot to a not-so-ugly idiot. If her IQ were normal, she wouldn't have beaten Sun Hongxia and Zhang Chao like that. Ye Ningshuang ignored the stares of the ants around her and calmly walked towards the podium. However, no sooner had she gone up than the teacher of senior year class 2, Huang Jiajia, approached and pointed at Ye Ningshuang's nose, beginning to scold her. Ye Ningshuang, who ordered you to hit the director and your classmates? How have I taught you? Hurry up and apologize and admit your mistake. This fight happened in the class she led, so she would have to bear some responsibility. Instead of waiting for the school and the director to blame her, she would blame Ye Ningshuang first. This way, she could also show that she was innocent. Looking at Huang Jiajia, who was in front of her, Ye Ningshuang's eyes cleared, and she slowly uttered 2 words. Move! Huang Jiajia was stunned and then became enraged. How do you talk to your teacher? It's a joke. It's fine that she can't mess with the director, but what is Ye Ningshuang? She's just a country wild hen who got in thanks to the Shen family. I don't think a person who immediately tells a student to apologize and admit their mistake deserves the title of teacher, Ye Ningshuang said in a cold voice. Huang Jiajia was instantly speechless. Shen Wenjie, who was on the side, said with a frown, Ye Ningshuang, that's enough. Ye Ningshuang turned and looked coldly at Shen Wenjie. By what authority are you ordering me? By the authority of your fiancé. Shen Wenjie's voice volume rose uncontrollably, his eyes filled with disgust. If his grandfather hadn't told him that this marriage could only follow Ye Ningshuang's wishes, he would have already ended this absurd and ridiculous childhood engagement. Not anymore. Ye Ningshuang's voice was louder, her aura even more powerful. The engagement between the Yi family and the Shen family is annulled as of now. and you too get lost. As soon as her words fell, the surroundings fell into terrifying silence. Ye Ningshuang dared to cancel the engagement. Didn't she like Shen Wenqie very much? Besides, the Shen family was her capital to establish herself in Jimi High School, right? Shen Wenqie's expression was a little ugly. In his heart, Ye Ningshuang should have maintained the posture of a lapdog. Now, her expression of disgust made it seem as if he was not worthy of her. I originally wanted to help you out of the old friendship between the Yi and Shen families, but you, not knowing what was good for you, canceled the engagement. So handle this yourself. Saying this, Shen Wenqie retreated to the side with an air of superiority. He wanted to see how Ye Ningshuang would die today without the Shen family's help. Ye Ningshuang, don't tell me that with your own strength you want to face this alone, do you? Sun Hongxie asked with a sneer. To deal with a character as small as you, I am enough on my own. Ye Ningshuang, out of the corner of her eye, looked at him with a calm and serene attitude. Everyone present broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing her words. Sun Hongxie was one of Yancheng's most important ladies. If she was considered a small role, how many big roles were left in Yancheng? Had Ye Ningshuang gone crazy? Sun Hongxie, enraged, pretended to casually turn her head to the vice principal. She told him that the school's funds for the next semester had not yet been approved. The vice principal understood instantly, took the microphone, and said righteously, Ye Ningshuang violated school rules by hitting and insulting a school board member and her classmates. Therefore, she is expelled. I hope all students take this as a lesson. Instantly, the audience erupted. So she's expelled? According to school rules, at most, Ye Ningshuang should only receive a serious demerit for today's incident. Faced with everyone's perplexity, Ye Ningshuang calmly spoke. Vice Principal, you might want to change the 9 words engraved at the entrance of Jimei Academy. Dedicate one's life to the cause of education. What do you mean? The vice principal asked with slight annoyance. Since I hit someone until now, has anyone bothered to ask why it happened? Isn't it ridiculous that I'm directly expelled without asking anything? If this spreads, wouldn't it be a mockery? The vice principal's expression stiffened. He knew perfectly well that Sun Hongxie and Zheng Chao had provoked the other party, but they were school board members. Therefore, to save face, the vice principal feigned calm and said, So you're right to hit people? Then why did you hit the school board member and student Zhang? Ye Ningshuang raised her eyebrows and recounted the story from beginning to end. They were always the ones looking for trouble, and I get expelled for resisting. I know you have money and power. That being the case, wouldn't it be more appropriate to change the school entrance motto, dedicate one's life to the cause of education, to dedicate one's life to the rich people? Yi, Ningshuang said coldly. Every word struck the crowd's heart. For a moment, no one could refute her. Everyone knew what kind of people Zhang Chao and Sun Hongxie were. Taking advantage of their money and power, they often bullied others at school. If Ye Ningshuang were really expelled today, wouldn't it be serving the rich? You're lying, said Zhang Chao. Seeing that the atmosphere was not good, he immediately stepped forward to defend himself. You say I humiliated you. Do you have proof? Who can prove it? Then he turned to the second-year high school students. Can you prove it? Sun Hongxie's eyes lit up, and she knowingly asked, Ye Ningshuang says this school board member hit and scolded her. Did you see it? The students in class 2 looked at each other. One was an old wealthy family in Yancheng and a school board member, and the other was a country girl who no longer had a relationship with the Shen family. Who should they help? There was no need to think much. We didn't see it. Director Sun and student Zhang did not hit or scold Ye Ningshuang. What Ye Ningshuang says is false. Poor mountains and bad water produce cunning people. Please don't be fooled by Ye Ningshuang. Country people simply have no manners. Seeing a group of students distorting the facts, the vice principal finally let out a sigh of relief. He turned to Ye Ningshuang and said, Not only did you hit and insult students and school board members, but you also lied and deceived. Is there any problem with me expelling you today? Sun Hongxie looked at Ye Ningshuang with increasing arrogance and said, Today, if you don't properly apologize to my son and me, don't think you'll walk out of Jimi on your feet. However, Ye Ningshuang scoffed. Sun Hongxie, actually, I now suggest you go back to your husband and discuss how to deal with the fact that his products are being investigated for using substandard materials. Upon hearing this, Sun Hongxie was startled. How did Ye Ningshuang know about this? But Sun Hongxie played tough. What does that have to do with you? We can handle the small matters of our group on our own. What do you mean it has nothing to do with me? The phone in my pocket just recorded everything that happened since I entered school today. I've already uploaded it to the back end of the country's largest video website, and I'm about to publish it, Ye Ningshuang said as she pulled out her phone. Opening the recorded video, Zhang Chao clearly could be seen humiliating Ye Ningshuang and a series of subsequent events. Instantly, all lies were debunked. Sun Hongxia's expression was ugly, and the vice principal's lips trembled. The students in senior year class 2 wanted to disappear underground. If I publish the video, what kind of reaction will it cause? Yancheng's most prestigious private academy, an entire class of students lying in unison, and the vice principal helping the evildoers. Something so absurd should make it to the newspapers, right? And the Zhang group, if people find out that Zhang's products not only have substandard materials, but the group's wife also joined her son in bullying on campus, won't Zhang's competitors take advantage of it to make a big fuss? Sun Hongxia was the first to not be able to hold back. Her face was pale, and her previous arrogance had completely disappeared. "Don't publish it, okay?" Ye Ningshuang said with a very understanding attitude. Then she turned and said, "Kneel and beg me." What? Sun Hongxia was stunned on the spot, thinking she had misheard. "Kneel and beg me," Ye Ningshuang raised her voice, the fury in her eyes almost overflowing. I'm a school board member. I'm an important lady in Yancheng. How can I kneel before you?" Sun Hongxia shook her head repeatedly, very reluctant. "Then expect to end up on the streets." Ye Ningshuang ignored Sun Hongxia and left decisively. However, she had barely taken a step when Sun Hongxia knelt down with a thud. "Ye Ningshuang, have mercy on us. It was our fault. We were blind. Please, don't stoop to our level. Compared to future wealth and honor, what is this little dignity?" If Sun Hongxia really ended up as a debt-ridden beggar on the streets, she would rather die right now. "Mom, what are you doing? Get up quickly. Don't let Ye Ningshuang trick you." Zhang Chao was completely stunned. This was too embarrassing. He desperately tried to lift his mother. "Trash! So you insulted Miss Yi, right? Kneel and apologize to Miss Yi right now." Sun Hongxia slapped her precious son, whom she never dared to hit. Then she pressed his head down, forcing him to bow and apologize to Ye Ningshuang. This humble posture strongly contrasted with their previous arrogant attitude. That Ye Ningshuang knew that Zhang Group's products had substandard materials was naturally due to her former identity as an assassin queen. Her gaze was calm and indifferent, like an emperor's, despising Sun Hongxia's mother and son lying at her feet. Ye Ningshuang turned and walked towards the vice principal. She didn't have to stay at Jimmy Academy for extra classes, but this trial mission required her to win the upcoming monthly exam. She couldn't be expelled. However, at that moment, a loud clapping sound suddenly echoed. A boy with a childlike face who looked about 10 years old approached. He was wearing a black suit, and his appearance was both innocent and cool. "Director!" a student exclaimed. It was indeed the director of Jimmy Academy, Zhangwan Qingling. Although he suffered from dwarfism, he was a legendary director with forceful methods. "The man behind the director? Isn't that Ji Shao? How did he also come?" All the students were astonished. Ji Shao, the only grandson of a founding hero and the heir of the millennial Ji family. 9 years ago, at the age of 18, he rescued the Ji family from ruin. Under his leadership, the Ji family directly became the #1 family in the country, with properties all over the world. "Vice Principal Han, during the 2 years I was studying abroad, it seems you did many good things at school." Although Shangguan Qingling was not tall due to his physical defect, his aura was not at all weak. "Director, didn't you say you'd return to school tomorrow?" The vice principal took half a step back. "I was kidnapped by a certain young master. Couldn't help it," Shangguan Qingling said, looking at Jifeng helplessly. Jifeng's gaze had been fixed on Ye Ningshuang. The young woman's proud demeanor was completely different from the good girl image in her file. It had to be said that this way, she was more like the person who could save his grandfather. In fact, he had arrived at the school before the flag-raising ceremony. Seeing Ye Ningshuang's difficult situation, he contacted his old friend Shangguan Qingling. After all, it was more appropriate for Shangguan Qingling to show up. In the end, the person arrived, and the young woman also solved the problem. Having witnessed the entire process, he was not too surprised, because how could someone who could kill a foreign assassin with her bare hands be a helpless person? Realizing Jifeng's gaze, Ye Ningshuang also began to observe Jifeng. This man's appearance was excellent. His eyebrows and eyes resembled Ji Tanghai's a little. Thinking that he was also from the Ji family, Ye Ningshuang guessed the purpose of his visit to the school. At this moment, Shengguan Qingling continued to interrogate. I remember saying that the school would never open back doors for any group or family, and that students would only be divided by grades, right? He was very angry. He had only been abroad for 3 years, and his subordinates had ignored the rules and let Ye Mingxuang in, and even put her in class 2, which had the second highest average. Grandpa Shen, one of the school board members, asked me many times. I really had no other choice. The vice principal sweated coldly. He couldn't say that Grandpa Shen had given him too much money privately, could he? Then, was the decision to expel her without asking anything today also because Sun Hongxia asked you too many times? Shangguan Qingling pressed him step by step. I. The vice principal panicked, stammering for a long time without being able to say a word. You're fired, the little director said decisively. Then he turned and pointed at the students of senior year class 2. All students of senior year class 2 are suspended for half a month, and each must write a 10,000-word self-analysis. In addition, Sun Hongxia will be expelled from the school board, and Zhang Chao will be expelled. Finally, Shangguan Qingling approached Ye Mingxuang and said softly, logically speaking, you are the aggrieved person. Whether or not to publish the recorded video is your right. However, as a director, I do not wish for the school and students to be subject to controversy and scolding because of a small part of the people. Therefore, if you are willing not to publish it, I can make an exception and allow you to remain in school. However, according to your previous grades, you can only go to senior year class 7. Do you agree? Yes, Ye Ningshuang nodded. Her goal was only to stay in school and win the monthly exam. She didn't care which class she went to. Everything was settled. Shangguan Qingling turned back to the crowd, and, except for Ye Ningshuang, everyone else returned to their posts. When the people dispersed, Ji Feng approached Ye Ningshuang and handed her a business card. Thank you for saving my grandfather. If you have any problems in the future, don't hesitate to contact me. Although from someone else's mouth, that might sound pretentious. Coming from the young master of the Ji family, it was a firm promise. Ye Ningshuang, without hesitation, took the card and left. Ji Feng watched her walk away, a spark of admiration igniting in his eyes, serene in adversity, unperturbed by honor or dishonor, with foresight and confidence. Do you like her already? Shangguan Qingling joked. Her character really suits you. You could marry her to repay her for saving your grandfather. What do you think? Ji Feng gave his friend a lazy look, ignoring him. When Ye Ningshuang returned to the senior year classroom, the hall was empty. The students, probably too ashamed to face her, had gathered their things and left early. She collected her own things and headed to the senior year class 7 classroom. That class, which was last in academic performance, was peculiar. Its classroom was in the old teaching building, with slightly more antiquated facilities. The new building, where she was separated by a small forest. Ye Ningshuang crossed the forest alone, and suddenly her phone vibrated in her pocket. She took it out and saw that, after recording such a long video, the phone had run out of battery and turned off. The dark screen was like a mirror, where she could see her tired eyes. After saving Ji Konghai the night before, she had barely slept. It was frustrating that her insomnia from her previous life had accompanied her in this new body. Ye Ningshuang put her phone back in her pocket and, as she walked, murmured to herself with her head down, "Looks like I need to buy more sleeping pills. Now without medicine, sleep is a luxury for me." Someone passed by her side, and the wind blew over that person. Ye Ningshuang suddenly felt a fragrance. The scent was strange, not of flowers or chemicals, but smelling it helped her concentrate and relax. Sleep instantly overwhelmed her, as if she had taken 10,000 sleeping pills. Ye Ningshuang, subconsciously, grabbed the wrist of that passerby, but upon looking up, she met eyes as dark as ink. This person was Ji Feng. He had just left the principal's office and was also passing through this small forest. "Is something wrong?" he asked politely and gentlemanly. Ye Ningshuang had saved his grandfather, and for that alone, she deserved different, patient treatment. "Before you answer that question, I want to know if you wear perfume." Ye Ningshuang's eyes showed a hint of urgency. In her previous life, she had tried several methods to fall asleep, but none had worked. She was eager to know what this scent Ji Feng was emitting was. "No!" Ji Feng looked down at the girl holding his arm. "Then something is wrong with me." Ye Ningshuang grabbed him tighter, lifting her small, delicate face, and said seriously, "I want to sleep with you, every night." Ji Feng froze. A hint of bewilderment crossed his handsome face. Are kids these days so bold? You have a special fragrance on your body that can cure my insomnia. I want to sleep next to you, Ye Ning Shuang explained her purpose. God knows how much she longed to be able to sleep soundly. The man was silent, as if assimilating the words of the girl in front of him. A moment later, he nodded slightly. If your parents have no objections, I can fulfill your request. She was his grandfather's savior, and he was single, so simply sharing a bed was not unacceptable. Thank you. Ye Ning Shuang released Jifeng's wrist and returned to her previous cold demeanor. You're welcome. Jifeng looked at his watch and added, after school in the afternoon, I'll have a driver pick you up at the school entrance. If there are no other problems, I'll go to the company. Ye Ning Shuang nodded and continued walking towards the old teaching building. In a short while, Ye Ning Shuang arrived at the senior year, Class 7 classroom, following the signs. When she opened the classroom door, she saw everyone kneeling, with a high school student leading the way, extending a hand in her direction as if awaiting a deity's grace, and mumbling, "Glorious and mighty queen, please ascend to your throne and wield your scepter to dispel the fog and darkness." With a slam, Ye Ning Shuang immediately closed the door, expressionless. What's going on? Have I traveled back in time again? After a few seconds, she opened the door again. The same movements, the same lines, the same crowd. Ye Ning Shuang was completely confused. Queen, don't close the door. Your way of opening the door is not bad. The lead boy, fearing that Ye Ning Shuang would close the door again, quickly got up and approached her. I'm Chan Zhaoyang. In our Class 7, we have a rule. Whoever has the greatest combat strength is the leader. Before you arrived, I was the leader, but during the flag-raising ceremony, we all saw the video where you hit people. I'm sure I can't beat you, so I decided to abdicate. From now on, you will be the leader of our Class 7, and your title will be Queen. When he finished speaking, all the students in the class began to cheer. Ye Ning Shuang did not want to pay attention to these Chunibyu syndrome patients and simply found a quiet corner to sit and read. The queen is so cold, and she's really beautiful. She's perfect for a queen's temperament. It seems that the ranking of the school's most beautiful girls will have to be reorganized. The bell for class rang, but no teacher appeared for the 4 morning classes. All classes became free study time. Students played and had fun. If students didn't want to learn, teachers didn't bother to teach. Both parties had a tacit understanding, and no one had objections. This also caused Class 7's academic performance to worsen increasingly. Ye Ning Shuang didn't care about these things. She just wanted to win the monthly exam. When lunchtime arrived, Ye Ning Shuang, being the only ordinary student in the entire aristocratic school, naturally couldn't afford the school cafeteria. So she went to a cheap restaurant outside the school, ready to eat something simple. However, she had barely sat down in the most discreet corner when Jian Zhaoyang, the former leader of senior year Class 7, also entered. Ye Ning Shuang was a little surprised. The Jian family was also one of the traditional wealthy families. How could the son of such a family appear in a place with this price level? Suddenly, a loud bang was heard. The restaurant door burst open, and then some petty criminals entered. The young leader sat directly opposite Jian Zhaoyang. Oh, isn't this young master of the Jian family? Today you come to a small restaurant to experience the life of common people? Say what you have to say, and let go of what you have to let go. Jian Zhaoyang was full of impatience. I need money. Will you give me some to spend? The young man explained his purpose bluntly. Looks like you're lacking paternal love. Do you want to recognize me as your father? Jian Zhaoyang was not someone easy to bully and retorted directly. How dare you talk to Brother Chen like that? A small delinquent on the side was not pleased. Are you looking for trouble? Generally, petty delinquents didn't easily provoke children from wealthy families, but Jian Zhaoyang was different. The elder of the Jian family came from the military and never spoiled his descendants. If his grandson was bullied, he never intervened, because in the elder's opinion, only the weak were bullied, and the weak didn't deserve to be part of the Jian family. This made Jian Zhaoyang's background practically useless. Anyone could trample on him. He was the most unfortunate second rich kid. While both parties were at a standstill, the clinking of a spoon on a plate was heard from beside the crowd. Ye Ning Shuang had finished lunch. It was then that everyone realized Ye Ning Shuang's presence. Ye Ning Shuang, what are you doing here? Jian Zhaoyang's eyes narrowed slightly. Oh, do you have an acquaintance? And she's quite pretty. The leader of the delinquents left Jian Zhaoyang and approached Ye Ning Shuang's table. So, you want to help your friend? Ye Ning Shuang's delicate face showed no emotion. She didn't have a habit of meddling. She's a new classmate of ours who just arrived today. Don't mess with her. She had barely uttered those words when Jian Zhaoyang wanted to slap himself twice. How could he have dragged Yaning Shuang into this? These street delinquents were vicious and had assaulted people. A new classmate, eh? The leader of the delinquents pointed at Jian Zhaoyang and scoffed. Then you surely don't know how messed up this kid is. I'm telling you, don't be fooled by the fact that he's the young master of the Jian family. We often chase him and beat him up. Isn't that ridiculous? Ha 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 ha! Jian Zhaoyang's expression was a little awkward. The queen will surely find these embarrassing things amusing. He furtively looked at Yaning Shuang, but to his surprise, Yaning Shuang didn't have a hint of a smile in her eyes. Brother Chen also felt attracted. This girl is much prettier than those internet celebrities. Her temperament is on another level. Then he stopped laughing. Sister, do you want to be your brother's girlfriend? Yaning Shuang ignored his flirting and walked directly out of the restaurant. She had little time to study and didn't want to waste it on a few thugs. Brother Chen was stunned. In all his years of flirting, no woman had dared to leave without even looking at him. Hey, is our brother Chen talking to you and you're not listening? A companion of Chen's gestured at her, pretending to be lenient. Never mind, let her go. She's in such a hurry, maybe her family died and she's rushing to the funeral. Yaning Shuang, who was a step away from the door, stopped. Her back was to the crowd, and no one could see the expression on her face. The delinquent's words provoked a reaction in Yaning Shuang, and she intensified her action. Brother Chen is so smart, he already figured it out. I think not only did her mother die, but her father too. Jian Zhaoyang's eyes changed. Fighting is fine, but cursing other people's parents is going too far. Originally, I didn't want to hurt you. Yaning Shuang's cold voice resonated. Then, she closed the restaurant door lock and slowly said, You worms living in the sewers, stinky and disgusting, weak and despicable. I hope you don't regret provoking me. Her family was her most important boundary. Since this trash dared to touch it, now they could only be hospitalized. She hoped they had medical insurance. Yaning Shuang, calm down. Jian Zhaoyang felt a chill on the back of his neck. The queen's words and actions were too arrogant. But before you go crazy, you should see how many people you have in front of you, bitch. You're going too far, said one of the thugs, raising his arm to grab Yaning Shuang's hair. Yaning Shuang also approached him, grabbed his arm, and twisted it forcefully. A heartbreaking scream and the sound of bones breaking resonated at the same time, leaving everyone present instantly stunned. What happened? Why, in the blink of an eye, was the brawniest guy in their group disarmed by this weak-looking student? This is crazy. What are you waiting for? Come on, everyone. Brother Chen realized that the girl truly had some skills, so he immediately pulled out a machete he carried on his back and called his subordinates to surround Yaning Shuang. Faced with the surging crowd, Yaning Shuang remained calm and charged again. A minute later, Brother Chen lay on the ground, covering his wounds. He looked up at Yaning Shuang's dark eyes, realizing that this girl was definitely more skilled at killing than they were. A chill of fear ran down his spine to the tips of his hair. He quickly got up, crawled, and ran crying towards the hospital. What are you doing? And my store! At that moment, the restaurant owner came out of the kitchen, somewhat exasperated. Jian Zhaoyang, seeing this, immediately pulled out a check and put it on the table. It's done, no problem. The owner turned around and returned to the kitchen. Jian Zhaoyang approached Yaning Shuang with an expression of admiration. He originally thought that Yaning Shuang only had the courage to deal with pampered people like Sun Hongxia. He never imagined that her combat strength would be so explosive, capable of defeating a group of thugs with such ease. What do you call this? Fighting in the coolest way with the calmest expression? He admired the strong, so he instantly became Yaning Shuang's #1 lackey. Jian Zhaoyang sincerely asked, Queen, do you accept apprentices? I want to learn to fight with you. No, Yaning Shuang coldly refused and turned around, preparing to return to school. It's fine if not. I can follow the queen and learn while watching her fight. Jian Zhaoyang happily followed her. Due to Yaning Shuang's series of exploits in the morning, upon entering the campus, she instantly became the center of everyone's attention. Many students grouped in 3s or 5s, pointing at Yaning Shuang or looking at her with admiration. On the second floor of a nearby Western restaurant, Rong Qingru softly said, It seems that student Ye is very popular now. She only got temporary attention with small tricks like recording videos, but there's no comparison. Shen Wenzi narrowed his eyes, observing Yaning Shuang through the glass. Every time he saw Ye Ningshuang, he remembered the morning when she broke their engagement and told him to leave. "Are you angry that student Yi broke off the engagement with you, Brother Shen?" Rong Qingru lowered her eyelids slightly, her expression very soft and beautiful. "I simply don't understand. What right does she have to treat my family with that attitude?" Shen Wenxi scoffed. "I'm so glad she took the initiative to break off the engagement that I can't contain my joy," Rong Qingru thought for a moment. "Probably because you like her too much, and you're quite cold to her, which led her to despair and then hatred towards you." The afternoon bell for the start of classes rang on time. Ye Ningshuang originally thought that the afternoon classes would be the same as in the morning, self-study. However, a cultured young man of about 30 entered the classroom. He was the homeroom teacher of 3rd year, class 7, and the Chinese literature teacher, Liu Jing. Liu Jing approached the podium, put down his textbook, and said, "Before class starts, I want to say that we have a new classmate, Ye Ningshuang. Don't bully her, understood?" "Understood!" The response from below was sparse. Were they kidding? They couldn't protect their queen fast enough. How were they going to bully her? They weren't like those fools in class 2. Then, Liu Jing began to teach, but none of the students below paid attention. Some yawned, others ate snacks. Despite this, Liu Jing continued to teach diligently. Ye Ningshuang also didn't listen to the class. She flipped through the Chinese literature textbook with a bored look. For her, Liu Jing's teaching method was too formulaic, only useful for true beginners. The end of class bell rang, and the students who had been drowsy before instantly revitalized. Liu Jing stood at the podium, looking at those young and tender faces, with his heart full of concern. "Children, now is the age when you need to acquire knowledge. I have to convince the other teachers to come back and teach." He returned to the office and put a pack of cigarettes on the math teacher's desk. "Teacher Zhao, it's been a long time since you came to teach class 7. The children miss you very much. If they miss me, then something's wrong." Teacher Zhao stopped playing and said, "Teacher Liu, haven't you accepted reality yet? Those children in class 7, to be frank, are the disowned children of the big wealthy families and corporations. If their parents wanted to raise them, they wouldn't leave them to their own devices in class 7. They themselves don't put in effort. Why do you worry about them? Isn't it better to find a way for the director to transfer you?" Liu Jing lowered his head in silence. After school in the afternoon, it was already night. Ye Ningshuang left school alone. "Miss Ye, Mr. Ji asked me to pick you up." A man approached Ye Ningshuang, his tone very respectful. "He's concerned that the news of you sleeping with him might spread and bring negative comments, so he instructed me to act discreetly. Please come this way." Although Ye Ningshuang didn't care about external comments about her, Jifeng's action was also to her liking. She followed him and got into a very ordinary black car. Soon after, they arrived at a villa on the outskirts. Ye Ningshuang entered the villa and saw that the dining room already had a table full of delicious dishes. "You're back," a melodious and deep male voice resonated. At that moment, Jifeng came down the stairs. Behind him was a man dressed in a black suit of common appearance, but from his behavior and aura, Ye Ningshuang could immediately determine that he was her colleague. He's also an assassin, or at least worked in that line of business before. "Feng Ju is my special assistant. If you have any matters, you can also contact him." Jifeng introduced the man's identity. "I only have one thing, to sleep with you." Ye Ningshuang repeated her purpose while she sat at the dining table. Jifeng arched his eyebrows slightly with awkwardness and also sat at the table. If anyone else had said those words, they probably would have already been treated as a pervert. After dinner, Ye Ningshuang was directly guided by the maid to Jifeng's room. "Miss Ye, to the left is the bathroom. Young Master Ji is in the study attending to work matters and will come to sleep with you later," the maid said shyly. Who would have thought that young Master Ji, the dream of billions of girls in mainland China, would one day sleep with a country high school student? If word got out, it would definitely surprise a lot of people. Meanwhile, Jifeng finally finished his affairs and returned to his room where he saw the young woman leaning against the headboard of the bed, flipping through a textbook. Ye Ningshuang looked up upon hearing the movement, but her emotions were very cold. She seemed to be looking at an immutable sleeping machine. Jifeng lay down on the other side of the bed. Ye Ningshuang turned off the light and lay down. Both slept in the same bed. Jifeng could feel Ye Ningshuang moving closer and then away. as if she were looking for the right distance. But in the end, she lay on her side, gently resting her forehead on his shoulder. This movement was like that of a couple in love, full of intimacy and dependence. In a short while, Jifeng heard a quiet, shallow breath beside him. She really fell asleep very quickly. But Jifeng didn't sleep as well. He had slept alone for so many years, and now suddenly there was a woman beside him. It seemed he would really need some time to adapt. The night was dark and the wind blew strong. Suddenly, more than a dozen figures appeared at the villa. Jifeng opened his eyes wide, his narrow eyes gleaming with a trace of strength. There are always people who don't take the path of heaven and come here looking for death. But before he could make another move, Ye Ningshuang had already gotten up and approached the door. "Leave it to me." With a bang, the bedroom door was kicked open by an intruder. Ye Ningshuang, already prepared, punched him in the face. The instant the intruder closed his eyes from the impact, Ye Ningshuang had already snatched his pistol and shot him in the head. The sound of the gunshot attracted the other intruders, who rushed from all directions. Ye Ningshuang calmly left the room, holding the black pistol and firing 6 consecutive shots while changing positions. Then, 6 people fell to the ground. But it was not in vain. Feng Zhu also had arrived at the room at that moment, but he was stunned to see Jifeng leaning against the doorframe, gently swirling a glass of red wine, observing the battle downstairs. Is it strange that a weak and helpless man is protected by a beautiful and fierce young woman? Jifeng smiled slightly, but the surprise in his eyes was difficult to conceal. His grandfather probably felt just as surprised when she saved him. Feng Zhu frowned. "When you slammed me hard to the ground, you didn't say you were a weak and helpless man." "Evaluate her skills," said Jifeng. Feng Zhu began to observe. After a moment, his pupils constricted. It's easier to distinguish among people of the same kind. Ye Ningshuang's movements, her awareness, and her habit of shooting to kill mercilessly all reveal her identity. She's an assassin. She's an assassin? Feng Zhu nodded affirmatively. Jifeng's red wine glass stopped moving. He had thought that Ye Ningshuang might have received training from a combat master, or even that she might know some military veteran. But it never occurred to him that Ye Ningshuang was an assassin. She's stronger than me. She has the style of Kun Yun from back then, and her strength is definitely not inferior to Kun Cha's. Feng Zhu, who rarely spoke much, said a few more words at that moment. Jifeng drank the red wine in his glass in one gulp, and his deep eyes flashed with a dark light. Ye Ningshuang's file indeed omitted many words. Downstairs, Ye Ningshuang, after eliminating the last intruder, looked up at Jifeng and calmly said, "Consider it rent payment." "Killing to pay rent?" Jifeng laughed. "All right." That night, Ye Ningshuang slept well for the first time in a long time, despite the small incident. When she woke up the next day, Jifeng was no longer beside her. As the head of a large family, he was naturally busier than others. After breakfast, the chauffeur drove Ye Ningshuang to school. However, near the school, Ye Ningshuang saw Jian Zhaoyang from afar confronting a boy. Many people had gathered around them. "Why did you hold my girlfriend's hand?" Jian Zhaoyang asked, glaring at the other person. "What girlfriend are you talking about?" "Lin Jia is my girlfriend, Zheng Rui," the boy said, taking the hand of a short-haired girl beside him. "You're lying! Xiaoya is my girlfriend. The people in class 7 saw her confess to me." Jian Zhaoyang approached and grabbed Lin Jia's other hand with a fierce look, but Lin Jia sharply pulled away. "Jian Zhaoyang, that was just a joke. My friend said you have a strange personality and asked if I could conquer you. I said yes, and I tried." "What did you say? You tried?" Jian Zhaoyang couldn't believe his ears. "I admit my intentions weren't right, but I was your girlfriend for a month. You didn't lose anything," Lin Jia continued, indignant. "You're a student from class 7, a loser. Isn't it an honor to have had a gifted girlfriend?" Jian Zhaoyang's head buzzed. Had he become so insignificant that even deception was a grace bestowed upon him by the deceiver? "Do you understand? Xiaoya never intended to truly confess to you," Zheng Rui said with a sneer. Given where they stood, Jian Zhaoyang had nothing more to say. He threw away the necklace he had bought by saving for a month. He felt he had wasted his sincerity. He turned away sadly. "Who gave you the confidence to believe that Xiaoya would like someone from class 7 like you?" Zheng Rui asked, humiliating him to the fullest. "Was it the new girl in your class, Ye Ningshuang, the one who only records videos secretly?" Jian Zhaoyang, who was already leaving, turned abruptly and punched Zheng Rui in the face. "Who the hell gave you permission to talk about the queen like that? Ye Ningshuang might be cold, but she had never looked at them with disdain or aversion. Besides, yesterday, Chen Ji and the others, in a way, it could be said that Ye Ning Shuang had saved him. He wouldn't allow anyone to speak of Ye Ning Shuang like that. Jian Zhaoyang, are you crazy? Lin Jia was stunned. Not only did Jian Zhaoyang not defend her for hitting Zheng Rui, but he defended Ye Ning Shuang. What did that mean? Was it possible that she, Lin Jia, was not as important as Ye Ning Shuang, that country bumpkin? Zheng Rui touched the corner of his swollen lip and immediately punched back. Boss! When the Class 7 students saw that Jian Zhaoyang had been hit, they immediately pounced on Zheng Rui. The Class 1 students, seeing their classmates being beaten, also joined the fray. In a short while, Liu Jin, who had somehow gotten the information, arrived first. It took him a lot of effort to separate Jian Zhaoyang and Zheng Rui. Jian Zhaoyang, what are you doing? He insulted the queen! Jian Zhaoyang pointed at Zheng Rui. No matter how big the issue, you have to reason. If you fight like this in the street, what's the difference from gangsters? Liu Jin scolded loudly. That's why I say useless people are useless. No matter how hard they try, it's no good. Teacher Huang Jiajie from Class 2 came over and casually commented. Liu Jin turned and punched her, then grabbed her by the collar of her shirt and yelled hysterically, "Who said my students are useless? Who the hell gave you permission to humiliate them like that?" Everyone was dumbfounded. Is Teacher Liu Jin so violent? Teacher Liu, let go, quick! At that moment, more teachers arrived and quickly separated Liu Jin and Huang Jiajie. Liu Jin, how dare you hit a woman? You're not a man! Huang Jiajie shouted, covering her face. A useless teacher who teaches useless students. What a perfect match. Zheng Rui also came over at that moment, with an expression of disdain. Class 7 is really useless. Even if I stepped on the answer sheet with my foot, I'd get more points than them. Ye Ning Shuang is nothing special either. Lin Jia turned and directly attacked Ye Ning Shuang. That person was already a burden in Class 2, and now in Class 7 she's become queen. How ridiculous. Enough, Zheng Zhaoyang shouted. He was sick of hearing the word useless. Didn't you say that if you stepped on the answer sheet, you'd get more points than us? All right then, let's compare the results of the monthly exam. If our results are better than yours, all of you will have to publicly apologize to Class 7 and to the Queen. With that, Zhang Zhaoyang led the Class 7 students away. They returned to their den with an imposing air, but upon sitting in their seats, they slumped, their faces full of tears. Boss, I admit that when you swagger, you're very handsome, but how are we going to beat those gifted students in the monthly exam? Don't ask me, I don't know either. I just got impulsive. To be honest, he just wanted to find some tofu to smash his head into and commit suicide. This is not good! Teacher Liu is about to be fired. A classmate rushed in, scared. Huang Jiajie went to the principal and accused Teacher Liu, saying he's not fit to be a teacher. The principal also believes that since Teacher Liu has been in our class, the results have gone from bad to worse. He said that if our class's average score in this monthly exam is still a failing grade, he'll directly fire Teacher Liu. Upon hearing this, everyone became distressed. How are we going to pass? Most of our books are practically new. I remember Teacher Liu's family doesn't have many resources, and if we make him lose this job. At that moment, the bell for class to begin rang. The first class of the day was language. Liu Jin went to the podium with a calm expression and opened the book to page 33. Suddenly, sobs were heard from some girls sitting, and even some boys secretly wiped away tears. Is crying any use? If you have time to cry, you'd better use that time to study and find a way to surpass. Class 1. Jian Zhaoyang clenched the pen in his hand until it broke. His mood was very irritable. It's useless. There are only 15 days left until the monthly exam. Unless a miracle happens, it's impossible to beat Class 1, Liu Jin said with a frown and a calm tone. The gap between Class 7 and Class 1 is too big. There's no comparison in terms of study. Give me 15 days and I'll give you a miracle. At that moment, Ye Ning Shuang appeared at the classroom door. She felt that this matter had arisen because of her, so she would resolve it. Ye Ning Shuang prepared to teach these students using the assassin training method with a broad knowledge base that was used in her organization. Upon hearing her words, the atmosphere fell into a mysterious silence. That, Jian Zhaoyang scratched his head in embarrassment. Queen, haven't you forgotten? Your previous monthly exam results were worse than mine. Upon hearing this, Liu Jin also gave an ironic smile. He felt that the children were so desperate to beat Class 1 that they had gone crazy. But the next second, Liu Jin's expression changed. Yaning Shuang went to the podium. Her teaching method was very different. What Li Jin was going to explain in an entire class, Yaning Shuang summarized in less than 10 minutes, explaining it in a simple way, easy to understand and remember. All the students in the class, without realizing it, became immersed in their studies. Liu Jin had never seen the children of Class 7 so obedient, and the girl at the podium seemed more like a teacher than he did. Ding-a-ling! The students, immersed in the ocean of knowledge, were startled awake by the sound of the recess bell. Everyone looked at each other in amazement. The queen is amazing! What she explained just now is clearly imprinted in our minds, as if a martial artist had their main meridians opened. This feeling is fantastic. 10-minute break. In the next class, we'll talk about physics, then history, and in the last one, chemistry. Yaning Shuang's tone was as calm as ever. Liu Jin's eyes narrowed. Yaning Shuang was going to take charge of all the classes for Class 7. Was she a student or a study goddess? Unlike Liu Jin, who was bewildered, the students, led by Zhang Zhaoyang, fully trusted Yaning Shuang. They looked at her with admiration and said in unison, "Yes, Your Majesty the Queen." Yaning Shuang didn't correct their way of addressing her. It was just a code, and it didn't matter what they called her. Liu Jin didn't move from the classroom all morning, and he stayed with the students listening to Yaning Shuang. At that moment, all his doubts had dissipated. He could feel that this time, Class 7, under Yaning Shuang's guidance, might truly create a miracle. How long do you plan to watch? In the principal's office, Shangguan Qingling looked at Jifeng, who was standing by the window. From that angle, both could see the Class 7 classroom. "You haven't really fallen in love with Yaning Shuang, have you?" Shangguan Qingling continued to joke. "Is it so strange to fall in love with her?" Shangguan Qingling was perplexed. Good gracious, are you serious? He knew that the women who wanted to win over Jifeng spanned from their own country to abroad. Among them, there was no shortage of princesses and empresses. Humans are always attracted to excellence. I am no exception. Jifeng stared intently at Yaning Shuang through the window. Suddenly, he remembered the scene from last night when she, after killing someone, said she considered it rent. On one hand, she was decisive in battle, moving with ease between life and death. On the other hand, she was an educator, dispelling clouds in a sea of blood. He had to admit that he liked both facets of Yaning Shuang very much. Well, are you going to invest in Jimai or not? Good gracious. During the last 3 years abroad, Jimai has suffered severe internal corruption, and its capital chain has had major problems, Shangguan Qingling said with a serious expression. When have I ever abandoned you to your fate? Immediately after, Jifeng took out a black card, placed it on the office table, and handed it to Shangguan Qingling. Soon, the news that Yaning Shuang was teaching the students of Class 7 spread. Even many students took photos. Suddenly, the junior high Class 7 became the laughingstock of the entire school. Because, in everyone's eyes, what was the difference between this and a blind man asking a mute to take a message to a deaf person? The days passed amidst external mockery. At noon, the day before the monthly exam, Yaning Shuang went to the school library to consult information, and Zhang Zhaoyang happily followed her. "Queen, come quick! Here are the last 2 seats." Zhang Zhaoyang beckoned to Yaning Shuang, but upon turning around, he saw the 2 people he least wanted to see, Lin Zia and Zheng Rui. "These 2 seats are ours. You guys go back." Zheng Rui opened his mouth and directly shooed them away. "We go back because you say so? Don't you understand? First come, first served?" Zhang Zhaoyang said with a cold face. First come, first served also has to be combined with the actual situation, right? The library is for gifted students like us. What can a mediocre student like you do here? How is it possible that just by reading a few books here, you can surpass Class 1 in the monthly exam? Lin Jia's eyes were full of disdain. Zhang Zhaoyang clenched his fists, wanting to hit someone. At that moment, Yaning Shuang approached. "Will you leave on your own, or do you want me to kick you out?" She had never liked to talk when she could solve things with her hands. Yaning Shuang's words made Zheng Rui and Lin Zia panic. The whole school knew that Yaning Shuang had beaten up Sun Hongxie and her son, and Yaning Shuang's combat strength was not something an ordinary person could endure. "Does student Yi only use violence?" a sweet, feminine voice asked. Rong Qingru slowly approached, holding a masterpiece of world literature in her arms. The surrounding students immediately stirred. "Wow, Goddess Rong! She's heading towards Yaning Shuang." Speaking of which, aren't they love rivals? They both like the interrogator. This is going to be a good show. Rong Qingru stopped in front of Ye Ningxuang with an authoritative expression and said, "If you lay a hand on Zheng Rui and Lin Jia as student council president, I have the right to sanction you." "And where were you when Zheng Rui tried to steal our seat? Why didn't you display your authority then?" Ya Ningxuang retorted calmly, her lowered eyelids hiding the fury in her dark eyes. "I only saw that you wanted to hit someone, but I didn't see student Zheng try to steal your seat," Rong Qingru said with wide eyes, lying. "You only saw that I wanted to hit someone so pleased who has been standing in the southeast corner since 1317? Do you need me to check the security footage?" Ye Ningxuang scoffed, directly exposing Rong Qingru's hypocrisy with a flash of coldness in her eyes. As a professional assassin, she was extremely sensitive to changes in her environment. As soon as she entered the library, she noticed that Rong Qingru was already standing not far from them. Rong Qingru clearly knew everything that had happened, and her choice to say nothing was simply to cause her trouble. But did she deserve it? Rong Qingru's smile froze. She hadn't expected Ye Ningxuang to know she had arrived, and with such precision. "Ye Ningxuang, stop talking nonsense. Goddess, we'll accompany you to the monitoring room and embarrass her with the facts," a loyal follower of Rong Qingru said, stepping forward to express his displeasure. He didn't know that Rong Qingru wouldn't dare go to the monitoring room, as she would be the one made to look foolish. She remained motionless, her smile stiff. Anyone with a bit of sense could deduce something from her silence. "Don't try to provoke me, or your fate will be worse than Sun Hongxia's," Ye Ningxuang warned in a cold voice. She only wanted to complete her mission quickly and revive her brother, but if some senseless person got in her way looking for death, she wouldn't mind obliging them either. Before Rong Qingru could respond, Shen Wenxie also entered and protected her, saying coldly, "Ye Ningxuang, you don't have to bother Qingru because of me. If you have any dissatisfaction, address it to me. She is innocent." In his opinion, Ye Ningxuang was simply jealous that he preferred Qingru, right? "Because of you. Shen Wenxie, don't flatter yourself so much." Ye Ningxuang's eyes became even colder as she looked at Shen Wenxie. "Rong Qingru came looking for humiliation herself. If you pity her, advise her to keep her tail down and stay away from me." With that said, Ye Ningxuang, tired of staying any longer in the library, turned around and left. Jian Zhaoyang, who had been silent for a long time, looked coldly at the few people. "In this monthly exam, our Class 7 will definitely surpass Class 1. Then, he turned to Rong Qingru and said coldly, "And you, don't bother the queen again, or Class 7 won't make it easy for you." Upon hearing this, Rong Qingru's face darkened, and a flash of cruelty appeared in her eyes. Shen Wenxie looked at Ye Ningxuang's back in anger. He felt very annoyed. How dare Ye Ningxuang speak to him in that tone? The monthly exam arrived as scheduled. The atmosphere at Jimmy Academy was very solemn today. A small monthly exam felt like the university entrance exam, and the main reason was the matter of Class 7 and Class 1. Before entering the exam hall, the students of Class 7 gathered to cheer themselves, "The Queen," and Teacher Liu. After Zhang Zhaoyang finished the motto, everyone entered the exam hall with their heads held high. The 2 exam days ended. Many students tacitly gathered in the square, because the large screen in the square would display the rankings and grades of the students in a countdown. Huang Jiejia also arrived. As soon as she arrived, she said with a sarcastic tone, "Wow, the students of Class 7 are all here. Do you really have the nerve to come and see? Don't you know what it means that mud cannot be held up?" Huang Jiejia hated Ye Ningxuang. When Ye Ningxuang was in Class 2, she hadn't stopped dragging Class 2 down. The scolding she received at the flag-raising ceremony had made her a laughingstock among her colleagues to this day. Now she wanted to see how many students from Class 7, whom Ye Ningxuang had taught for half a month, would pass. "Huang Jiejia, you hate me a lot, don't you? Then let's make a bet. If Class 7 beats Class 1, you leave Jimmy. If Class 7 doesn't win, I leave Jimmy. Do you dare?" Ye Ningxuang's voice was cold and clear. Huang Jiejia, in her eyes, was like an insignificant fly, weak and dirty, but that fly buzzed around her all day long without stopping. It would be better to kill it directly for some peace. Upon hearing this, Huang Jiejia was stunned for a moment, and then burst into laughter as if she had heard the funniest joke. "Haven't you woken up from last night's dream yet? Do you still want to beat Class 1? Good, good, good. If the students you teach can beat Class 1, I'll resign on the spot. Otherwise, you leave Jimmy." As soon as her words fell, the scores on the screen began to appear. Everyone's gaze turned to it. "The list is out! The list is out! Holy crap, the last place isn't from Class 7. The sun came out from the west. Not to mention last place, there are no Class 7 students among the last 100. The Class 1 students panicked. Wang Jiajia was also a little nervous. There must be a problem with the system. Zhang Rui murmured with a frown. Yeah, the system definitely didn't include Class 7, Lin Jia snorted. Maybe all of Class 7 is in last place, so there's no need to include them on the list. A striking name appeared on the screen, Yang Jiu. Rank 49, third year Class 7, Jian Zhaoyang. The crowd erupted in an uproar. Holy crap! Zhan Zhaoyang's ex-girlfriend, Lin Jia, only got rank 67 this year. How did he do it? Was it really Yining Shuang who taught him so well? However, this was just the beginning of their astonishment. The screen continued to scroll, and the names of Class 7 students appeared one after another. Rank 42, third year Class 7. Rank 37, third year Class 7. Rank 13, third year Class 7. When the names of Class 7 students also appeared among the top 10 of the year, everyone was completely stunned. Why, in just 15 days, has everyone in Class 7 been reborn? Someone said softly. Haven't we seen Yining Shuang's name yet? Ah! Rank 6, third year Class 1, Zheng Rui. Rank 3, third year Class 1, Shen Wenjie. I bet our goddess Rong is first in the year, a loyal fan of Rong Qingru shouted. Rank 2, third year Class 1, Rong Qingru. Rank 1, third year Class 7, Ye Ningshuang. At the same time, the average score rankings for each class were also shown. First place, third year Class 7. In an instant, the entire place fell silent. Everyone's mouths hung open in astonishment. Only the students of Class 7 had a different expression. Each of them had red eyes and clenched fists. They had proven with facts that they were not useless. They had defended the queen and saved Teacher Liu. Resign and apologize! Zhang Zhaoyang shouted with his arm raised. The victory is decided, it's time to settle scores. Resign and apologize! The Class 7 students shouted in unison, repeating the motto again and again. Zhang Rui was the first to yield to the pressure and accept reality. He walked towards Yining Shuang and bowed, I'm sorry. Then, he bowed and apologized to each of the Class 7 students. Lin Jia hesitated for a long time, and finally approached Yining Shuang and said superficially, I'm sorry. You should feel honored, Yining Shuang suddenly said, because you once had an ex-boyfriend who got rank 49 in the year, and you only got rank 67. Lin Jia suddenly lifted her head. Weren't those the words she had used to insult Zhan Zhaoyang? Ye Ningshuang continued, you should feel ashamed. Zhan Zhaoyang ate cheap fried rice for a whole month to buy you a birthday present, but you played with this boy who treated you with sincerity. Upon hearing this, Lin Jia bit her lower lip, covered her face, and ran out. The queen is really cool. She even helped me vent. Zhan Zhaojiang looked at Yining Shuang, his eyes red with emotion and his nose sniffling. He truly loved the queen. I'm just telling the truth, said Yining Shuang, who really couldn't stand to see men cry, and looked away. At that moment, a teacher approached with a dismissal letter, handed it to Wang Jiajia, and said, Teacher Wang, the principal says you must keep your promise and set a good example for the children. Upon hearing this, the Class 7 students cheered with joy. Back in the classroom, the victorious students were still excitedly chatting nonstop. Yining Shuang put away her backpack, ready to return to the adopted family's villa. Seeing this, Zhan Zhaoyang quickly approached and asked, Queen, where are you going? Home after classes. In a moment, it's the gala and the 20th anniversary of Jimei Academy. Did you forget that all the school's shareholders will come? And students from each class also have to perform? Zhan Zhaoyang said with a playful smile. Too bad our class's program was already sent before the queen arrived. This time, she won't be able to perform with us. Yining Shuang was stunned. Indeed, in the original body's memories, there was something about the school's anniversary. Then, she put down her backpack and sat back down. Suddenly, the system information panel reappeared before Yining Shuang's eyes. Test mission 1 completed. The new mission will be launched tomorrow. Stay tuned. At that moment, Liu Jing appeared at the classroom door. Quick, go to the makeup room to prepare for the performance. Oh, yes, Zhan Zhaoyang ran out with the excited students. Then, only Yining Shuang remained in the classroom, flipping through a book. Yining Shuang, are you also going to the makeup room? Go see if you can help with anything, Liu Jing suggested with a smile. He wanted Ye Ningxuang to integrate into the group. This girl was too lonely. Ye Ningxuang nodded expressionlessly. Anyway, she had nothing better to do. As soon as she entered the makeup room, the girls from other classes who were already made up kept asking each other, "Did my eye makeup run? Do I need more touch-ups? Will I look better this way?" The reason for their caution and excitement was only one. Tonight, the new director of Jime Academy, Young Master Ji, would attend the gala. Young Master Ji was the highest quality man that countless girls worldwide dreamed of having. If any of them could be chosen by Young Master Ji during this performance, wouldn't it be like marrying into a rich family? "If I were a woman, I'd also want to marry Young Master Ji," a boy from class 7 said with a sigh. "We are different. We only want to marry the queen," the girls from class 7 said with sparkling eyes. Men are not as good as the queen. On stage, the presenter began to liven up the atmosphere. After a passionate speech, when the presenter pronounced the names of Rong Qinggru and Shen Wenji, a thunderous ovation erupted from the audience. The popularity of these two people in Jime was dominant. On stage, Rong Qinggru, dressed in a purple evening gown, sat at the piano and played pleasant melodies. Shen Wenji, dressed in a tailcoat, played the violin in collaboration. His concentration made him look even more attractive. The two staged an image of musical harmony. At the end of the performance, the applause was even more enthusiastic. But there were also some students who were not impressed. "It sounds good, but I'm already a little tired of listening to it." For 3 years, Rong Qinggru and Shen Wenji have presented the same act at every celebration. Although the musical pieces are different each time, the routine hasn't changed at all. Backstage, the class 7 students were preparing to go on. The music teacher in charge of the drums suddenly clutched his stomach with an expression of pain. "Ow, my stomach hurts. I'm afraid I won't be able to accompany you today. Find someone else." With that said, he hurried away. The students' faces changed. The drums are the main accompanying instrument for the piece we chose. Without the drums, the whole piece will have no soul. At this crucial moment, where are we going to find another drummer? "I'll do it," Ye Ningxuang approached. "The queen also knows how to play the drums," exclaimed Jian Jiaoyang with wide eyes. "A little." Playing the drums was once the only way she could vent. Only, while playing, she was rated by foreign media as the strongest drummer of this century. On stage, the presenter smiled and said, "Next to take the stage are the students of 3rd year class 7. They are going to perform an English song, Natural. Let's welcome their performance." Applause was heard, and the class 7 students went on stage with dim lighting. A single spotlight illuminated Zhang Zhaoyang, who sang softly. Another light illuminated Ye Ningxuang, who played the drums, bringing the rhythm to a climax. The sound of the drums, dense and orderly, seemed to directly hit people's hearts. Her performance instantly ignited the entire audience. Ji Feng was sitting in his chair, ignoring other shareholders' attempts to curry favor with him, and listening attentively to the performance on stage. In his deep, narrow eyes, Ye Ningxuang could be seen playing alone under the light. The performance ended. Ye Ningxuang took off her headphones, and Zhang Yu left. Suddenly, Jian Zhaoyang took the microphone and shouted, "Your Majesty the Queen, heroic and wise." Ye Ningxuang looked up, confused. The audience also looked at Zhang Zhaoyang, confused. He only saw Jian Zhaoyang kneeling on one knee, with one hand extended towards Ye Ningxuang as if waiting for a deity's favor. The rest of the class 7 students also knelt before the audience, making the same gesture as Zhang Zhaoyang. In each young face, there was adoration and joy. Ye Ningxuang had seen this scene when she first arrived in class 7, which was very similar to this moment. Their voices were strong and unanimous. "Please ascend to the throne and wield your scepter to dispel the fog and darkness." This was originally just a joke, but Ye Ningxuang, as if a deity fallen from the sky, dispelled the fog around them, allowing them to surpass Class 1, which had been far ahead, in just half a month. She allowed them to regain their dignity and confidence from the dark corners. Didn't some scoff that Ye Ningxuang didn't deserve the title of queen? Now, by submitting, they wanted to proclaim to the outside world that Ye Ningxuang was absolutely worthy of the words queen. Both male and female fans also stood up, shouting and cheering, "Queen, queen!" The atmosphere had heated up to such an extent that the gala resembled a personal fan meeting for Ye Ningxuang. Seeing this, the presenter rushed to intervene, asking Class 7 to leave the stage. Backstage, the adoration in Zhang Zhaoyang's eyes almost overflowed. "Queen, you played the drums incredibly well." He realized that Ye Ningxuang was too strong. Not only was she good at combat, but she was also excellent in academics, and even played the drums with such skill. It was all right, Ye Ning-shuang replied indifferently. Queen, I'll take them to remove their makeup first. See you tomorrow, Zhang Zhaoyang said, waving goodbye. Ye Ning-shuang checked the time and also prepared to return home. However, at that moment, a loud rumble echoed above their heads, and then the entire stage ceiling collapsed. In an instant, the lights went out, screams erupted, and flames broke out. Mommy! A small child cried in the chaos. Terrified, another loud rumble echoed above their heads, and a broken load-bearing pillar crashed down towards the child. Mommy! She cried louder, extending a hand uselessly, but was dragged away by the crowd. She watched with her own eyes as her child was about to be hit. At the most critical moment, Ye Ning-shuang lunged, shielding the child in her arms. However, the broken load-bearing pillar hit her hard on the shoulder and back. Offstage, Shengguan Qingling directed the evacuation. The fire was also extinguished. Due to the timely action, there weren't many casualties. Ji Feng looked around, frowning. He was looking for Ye Ning-shuang. Shengguan Qingling guessed his thoughts at a glance. She probably already left. Even if she didn't, with her skills, this level of accident wouldn't hurt her. Don't worry. Ji Feng thought she was right. That person could take down foreign assassins with her own hands. Then he turned around and prepared to leave. My child is trapped underneath. That girl they call Queen is also inside. Please save them. At that moment, the child's mother collided with Ji Feng as she ran. Ji Feng stopped dead in his tracks and turned sharply. On the other hand, several security guards pushed the collapsed, load-bearing pillar and found a girl hugging a child, kneeling on the ground. Sister! The child looked blankly with an expression of terror. Go find your mom, Ye Ning-shuang said, releasing the child and slowly standing up. Queen, are you all right? Asked Zhang Zhaoyang and the others, who had returned halfway upon hearing the commotion, seeing their queen with her face covered in soot. I'm fine, Ye Ning-shuang said calmly, dusting off her clothes and walking out. And wherever she went, everyone looked at her with admiration. After all, not everyone could sacrifice their lives to save others in moments of danger. Ye Ning-shuang was looking for the adopted family's driver's car on the road outside the school. It was so late that she didn't know if the driver would still wait for her. However, at that moment, a black car stopped in front of Ye Ning-shuang. Get in, Ji Feng said without further words. Ye Ning-shuang didn't beat around the bush and got in directly. Her relationship with Ji Feng wasn't much. Despite having shared a bed for so many days, their conversations had not exceeded 10 times. At night, there was little traffic on the outskirts, and Ji Feng soon drove the car back home. He was the first to get out and walked quickly inside. Ye Ning-shuang got out and walked down the hallway, about to go upstairs, when suddenly Ji Feng called her. Come here. She saw that he was holding a medicine box. Let me see where you got hit. Ye Ning-shuang hesitated for a moment before approaching and sitting beside him. Her clothes slipped off her shoulder. Her shoulder and back were covered in a large, striking reddish bruise. Ji Feng's pupils constricted slightly. Ye Ning-shuang's injuries were more serious than he had expected. He opened the medicine box and applied the medicine quickly and gently. Why don't you cry or complain about the pain? Ji Feng knew that pain and crying were innate instincts in humans from birth. How many pampered girls' eyes would turn red with the slightest bump? And she was a girl too. Useless, Ye Ning-shuang replied in a voice without any fluctuation. Screaming not only exposes your location, but also removes the salt you need to survive in your body. If you want to live, you cannot cry or scream. This is the first rule the world I live in taught me. Ji Feng's application of the medicine stopped. He only knew she was an assassin, but he hadn't thought that to survive, she could even erase her instincts. It wasn't hard to guess what kind of life she had led before. After applying the medicine, Ye Ning-shuang felt much better, and her eyebrows relaxed a little. Thank you. Perhaps you could try saying words other than thank you, Ji Feng said with a slight smile. Despite sleeping in the same bed, they remained so distant. This made him doubt if his personal charm had any issues. Then, to sleep. I'm sleepy. Ye Ning-shuang also cooperated, and actually said something different from thank you. Ji Feng was speechless. Well, it seemed he really had no charm in front of her. With Ji Feng by her side, Ye Ning-shuang fell asleep quickly. But tonight was a little special. The small child who had called her sister in her arms reminded her of her own brother. In her dream, she dreamed of her and her brother in the slums. In the middle of the night, Ji Feng woke up cold. He discovered that his entire sleeve was wet, and the night wind brought him more cold. Curious, he turned on the light and realized that the girl beside him was curled up, crying in her sleep. Tears had soaked her clothes, and her expression was a little surprised. In this way, she was fragile, helpless, desperate, and pained, completely different from her cold self during the day. Do you only dare to cry uncontrollably in your dreams? He hesitated and reached out a hand to dry her tears. The tears did not stop. Jifeng's frown deepened further. What kind of dream would make her cry like this? He hugged her tenderly, trying to give her some security. In her dream, Ye Ningshuang suddenly felt the environment around her become much warmer. She naturally stretched out her hand and embraced that warmth, and outside the dream, Jifeng's body stiffened. One morning, Ye Ningshuang opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was a muscular, well-proportioned chest. She sat up abruptly, and the calmness of her face began to slowly crack. "Is it so hard to wake up in my arms?" Jifeng said with his eyes slightly curved. Ye Ningshuang's expression was too interesting. "It seems I never said I'd sleep in your arms." Ye Ningshuang put on an angry face. "Oh really? Then look whose hand is on your waist," Jifeng said with a touch of the relaxation and sluggishness of just waking up, making that face seem evil and demonic and incomparable beauty. Upon hearing his words, Ye Ningshuang also noticed the position of her hand. She quickly withdrew it as if she had received an electric shock, and a hint of shame appeared in her dark eyes. "Well, I won't bother you anymore." Jifeng held back his laughter, and then told her the truth about what happened last night. Perhaps it was an after effect of the previous night's kindness, but now he couldn't bear to see her unhappy. Ye Ningshuang fell silent. It turned out that the source of that warmth was him. Gradually, her expression returned to calmness. "Thank you for your comfort. I still hope you'll say words other than thank you." Jifeng looked at her for a moment, and an unknown emotion appeared in his deep, dark eyes. Words other than thank you? Ye Ningshuang lowered her eyelids. She wasn't sure what Jifeng wanted to hear. In the car on the way to school, she suddenly heard the system notification. Test mission launched. Test mission 2. Represent Jimei and win the International School Chess League. Ye Ningshuang began to think. In the original body's brain, there didn't seem to be any related memories. It seemed she would have to ask someone. Her gaze was firm. She needed to complete 30 test missions to revive her brother, and now she had 29 left. So this time, she had to win the International School Chess League. As soon as Ye Ningshuang entered Class 7, Jian Zhaoyang approached with a fawning expression to greet her. Ye Ningshuang looked at Jian Zhaoyang. "I have a question for you, Queen." "What question?" Jian Zhaoyang blinked, but before Ye Ningshuang could speak, a girl ran in urgently. "Big news! Teacher Liu resigned." This sentence resonated like thunder in Class 7. What happened? Weren't we Class 1 in the exam? Why did Teacher Liu resign? Jian Zhaoyang's eyes widened. Was it the Class 1 students who weren't convinced and used tricks to force Teacher Liu to resign? If so, today I'll take them to the hospital. Everyone was very excited, and some boys even rolled up their sleeves, ready to go fight. The girl continued breathlessly. "I don't know why Teacher Liu resigned. I just saw him hand in his resignation letter and then leave." Upon hearing this, everyone rushed out, and Ye Ningshuang also followed them. At the school entrance, Lu Jing looked at the school sign with an expression of deep reluctance. Suddenly, he noticed his former students running towards him. This brought tears to his eyes. "I was about to say goodbye to you, but you already came," Liao Jing said with a carefree smile. He knew he had been in Class 7 for 3 years, and their grades hadn't improved at all. This already showed that his teaching level wasn't very good. He had always intended to resign until Ye Ningshuang's arrival, which strengthened his idea of resigning. He saw the gap, so he no longer wanted to deceive the students. "Teacher Liu, what are you going to do?" Jian Zhaoyang's tone was a little sad. "Go back and inherit the family business," Liu Jing said with a slight smile, but the students could feel a bitter taste in his resignation. Everyone knew that Liu Jing's family was not wealthy. A female student cried, "What family business does he have? Will he go back to herding sheep and farming?" "Liu, who bullied you? Tell us." The student's tears barely trickled down her eyes when an engine roared on the road. Immediately after, a sports car stopped behind Liu Jing. At the same time, 2 female models with shapely bodies got out of the car and clung to Liu Jing like water snakes, sweetly calling, "Young Master Liu, my sister and I missed you very much." The scene instantly broke. What's going on? Why are beautiful models leaning on poor Teacher Liu? And why are they calling him Young Master Liu? Are they hallucinating? Honey, go wait for me in the car. I'll say goodbye to my students first. Liu Jing pulled out 2 wads of cash and generously handed them to the models. Jan Zhaoyang almost bit his tongue. Teacher Liu, didn't you say that the money for your trip to Jimei was gathered by your family selling sheep? Liu Jing nodded. Yes. Is there a problem? Then you... Zhang Jiayang suddenly felt that he didn't know where to start. There were too many questions. That's right, said Liu Jing with an innocent expression. My family has 40 million sheep, 30 million pigs, 10 million cows, and several million donkeys. Oh, now that I can't mix around outside, I can only go back and inherit a fortune of hundreds of billions. Everyone shuddered. To die of illness and suddenly sit up, it turns out the clown is me. I'm very happy to have spent these 3 years with you, but I'm ashamed that I couldn't teach you more knowledge. Fortunately, Ye Ningxuang arrived. Liu Jing looked at Ye Ningxuang. She has improved class 7. I owe you a favor. If you ever have any problems, don't hesitate to contact me. My house is easy to find. All the grasslands you can see on the national map are named Liu. With that said, Liu Jing sat in the driver's seat of the sports car, put on his sunglasses, and drove off without looking at anyone. Holy crap, Zhang Zhaoyang actually had countless things to say, but only that word remained. Much later, Zhang Zhaoyang recovered. Suddenly, he remembered something. Oh yes, Queen. Didn't you have a question for me a moment ago? Ye Ningxuang said, do you know about the International School Chess League? Yes, it's a competition organized by our 8 high schools annually. The 8 high schools take turns hosting each year, and this year it's Jimmy's turn to host. The 20 participating students selected by the school at the beginning of the year have been training. What's special is that the school league isn't just a competition between students, but also between mentors. In the final, if both students' scores end up tied, the mentor will come out to play the last game. However, students can also go out and play, only no one has done it so far. You're silly. Of course no one has done it. The participating students are like novices in the beginner's village, and the mentors are the level bosses. Have you ever seen a novice kill a boss alone? Hehehe, that's true. By the way, why is the queen asking about this? I'm going to participate in this league. Ye Ningxuang showed a determined expression. She had to participate and win the competition, because she had to complete the test mission. Zhang Zhaoyang looked worried. This might be difficult. The school league isn't for just anyone who wants to participate. It's an event that affects the school's reputation. The participants are carefully selected by the school. At that moment, an energetic introduction was heard on the loudspeaker. The flag-raising ceremony was about to begin. Ye Ningxuang and her classmates gathered on the playground. After the solemn flag-raising ceremony, Shangguan Qingling, who was small and delicate, went to the podium to speak. First, she announced the cause of last night's stage accident, sanctioned the negligent staff, and then praised Ye Ningxuang for saving the child last night. The entire audience erupted in thunderous applause for Ye Ningxuang's courage, but in Rong Qingru's heart, she scoffed endlessly. Did Ye Ningxuang really save the child? It just so happened that she was with the child. This is a situation where I could have done it too, but the school has praised her as a great hero, which is ridiculous. At that moment, Shangguan Qingling called Ye Ningxuang to the stage and asked with a smile, I can give you a prize. Is there anything you want? Prize? Ye Ningxuang said without hesitation. Allow me to participate in the International School Chess League. Shangguan Qingling suppressed her smile. Why do you want to participate in this? The list of participants was set a long time ago. I can yield my spot to Ye Ningxuang. At that moment, Zheng Rui from 3rd year class 1 raised his hand and shouted. He greatly admired Ye Ningxuang now and felt ashamed of his previous actions. It would be a great opportunity to make up for it. Thank you, Ye Ningxuang calmly thanked him. Someone voluntarily withdrew, which saved a lot of trouble. No, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Zheng Rui blushed and quickly looked away. Since Zheng Rui is willing to withdraw, then you are part of the participating students. After school, practice 2 hours in the International Chess Room, Shangguan Qingling said with a smile. Today for Class 7 was a special day. The teachers who previously didn't want to go teach Class 7 returned. The first thing they did upon entering the classroom was to apologize for their previous negligence. The second was to bow to Ye Ningxuang. Student Ye, if there's anything inappropriate in my teaching process, please point it out. Although they hadn't heard Ye Ningxuang teach, the grades of the Class 7 students were there. The facts proved that Ye Ningxuang was much better than them, the teachers. If they could receive guidance from Ye Ningshuang, their professional careers could have a big breakthrough. After school, Ye Ningshuang went to the international chess room. Inside the room were all the students who would participate in the competition. And there, she saw two familiar faces again, Rong Qingru and Shen Wenjie. Ye Ningshuang kept walking and saw a particularly striking old man. He was sitting there, concentrated, playing chess by himself. This person was Qin Li, Jimei Academy's international chess mentor. Qin Li was a legendary figure in the field of international chess. He was also the only master in chess history who had won a national title. Due to his wife's betrayal, he fell into depression and then came to Jimei Academy to make a living. "How long are you going to stand there, Qin Li?" Qin Li asked, staring intently at the chessboard without turning to Ye Ningshuang. "Is this all they learn?" Ye Ningshuang quickly glanced at the students' chess games, and the result could only be described as simple. "If you think you're good enough, you don't have to learn," Qin Li said, moving a piece, his attitude unchanged. Upon hearing this, Ye Ningshuang simply turned around and left. Qin Li didn't stop her, but continued playing chess by himself. Everyone in the room was stunned. What did Ye Ningshuang mean by, "Is this all they learn"? Was she very good? Ye Ningshuang walked down the bustling main street. A dessert shop with cozy decor instantly attracted her. The owner kindly asked, "Miss, what would you like to buy? We have a dessert here." Ye Ningshuang pointed to the Black Forest mousse through the display case, her voice calm. "This one is fine." The owner was about to put the cake in a box. "No, this one's better." Ye Ningshuang pointed to the matcha millefeuille again. "All right." The owner put down the Black Forest mousse and went to get the matcha millefeuille. "Sorry, I prefer the Black Forest." Ye Ningshuang pointed again. "Of course." The owner went back to get the Black Forest again. Finally, Ye Ningshuang left the dessert shop with a tiramisu. Across the street, in the Huasheng building, Jifeng was standing in front of the window. So, she likes something too. A faint, imperceptible smile appeared in his deep, dark eyes. He had just finished a meeting when he saw Ye Ningshuang shopping at the dessert shop downstairs. Miss Yi hesitated a lot in front of the display case. It seemed she wanted to try them all, Feng Ju said thoughtfully. The smile in Jifeng's eyes deepened. The more he knew Ye Ningshuang, the more she resembled a beautifully wrapped gift box, bright and unique, making you wonder what was inside the gift box. He really wanted to open it and see. When Jifeng returned home, he found Ye Ningshuang sitting in the dining room, lost in thought. The box containing the tiramisu was already deformed, and the cake inside was in pieces. The maid bowed and apologized incessantly. "I'm sorry, Miss He. I'm really very sorry." "What happened?" Jifeng frowned. "Young Master Ji, it was my fault. I accidentally bumped into Miss Ye at the corner and the cake fell," the maid replied remorsefully. "It's my problem, not yours," Ye Ningshuang said dispiritedly. Upon entering, she was so absorbed in thinking about where to get off that she didn't realize there was someone around the corner. She just felt sorry for the tiramisu. I'll go buy you another one downtown." The maid felt extremely guilty. Miss Yi rarely liked anything. How could she be so careless? "By the time you get there, the store will already be closed," Jifeng said, taking off his suit jacket and handing it to Feng Jiu. Then he turned and went to the kitchen, tied on a dark apron, and began to whisk eggs in separate yolks skillfully. This series of actions surprised Ye Ningshuang a little, and then turned into admiration. The extremely handsome man, like a magician, in just half an hour, presented a perfectly decorated, sweet, and fragrant cake. "Try this." Jifeng took off his apron and offered the cake to Ye Ningshuang. Ye Ningshuang took a fork, cut a small piece, and put it in her mouth. The sweetness and softness on her tongue lit up her dark eyes. "Delicious," she said sincerely. This time, Ye Ningshuang's gaze towards the man, without her even noticing, had a touch of admiration. The corners of Jifeng's lips lifted slightly. He liked Ye Ningshuang looking at him like that. "Does your family also train their descendants to make desserts?" Ye Ningshuang asked curiously and quietly added, "And so delicious ones." "No," Jifeng replied indifferently. "My mother also liked desserts. To make her happy, I learned to cook from a pastry chef for 2 months." Ye Ningshuang ate the cake and nodded. Her appearance was so docile that it made one want to hug and pamper her. Remembering the scene of her crying helplessly last night, Jifeng's heart was moved. "Except for my mother and you, I haven't made desserts for a third person." "Do you know what that means?" Ye Ningshuang took another piece of cake and, after a moment of silence, replied, "It means I look like your mother."